burn fat, build muscle, build confidence with the Stairmaster Oblivion. It's the Stairmaster machine that will work out your body and soul. You know, forever I'd been lifting weights, using treadmills, row machines. None of it was working for me until I found Stairmaster Oblivion. I was sick of just walking in place on a typical Stairmaster, but no, this one led me straight to the gates of hell. And then I really got my sweat on.
Ah! Oh, God! Oh, God!
My doctor told me with my bad heart, I needed to change my ways. But after a few months on the Stairmaster Oblivion, I felt proud facing myself in the mirror and my demons. Mom?
You're a disgrace!
I tried, Mom, I tried. I just want to make you proud.
You're an embarrassment to your family!
No.
We hate you!
Oh, no.
With the Stairmaster Oblivion, you can finally shed those pounds. And those tears.
Stairmaster Oblivion may result in loss of self, loss of sanity, and loss of life.
Stairmaster Oblivion. Get ripped apart.
Oh, God! Oh, Jesus! Oh, God! Oh, God!
Citizens of the Milky Way, my name is Dylan Hackworth.
And I'm Gage Hurley.
And you have arrived at the tippity top. The top of the stairs, baby. Don't look down. Because we're way up here. We are way up here at the Creep Street Podcast, folks. Yes, that's right. Oh, buckle up. And you know what? Put on your backpack. Get your extra water. Get your snacks. Get your survivalist literature guide, whatever. Because we are headed into the woods, and we're looking for stairs. That's right, folks. This is one, I've been itching to do. Tonight's episode is Staircase in the Woods. Now let me just walk all over you with my sources here. First, we got Strange Cases of Mysterious Stairs in the Wilderness That Lead to Nowhere by Brent Swanser at Mysterious Universe, and then an incredible story from the website and blog Phantoms and Monsters, Lon Strickland's website. He's based out of Chicago. The last story I'm going to share was one that these phantom staircases that show up in the woods, they've kind of like popped up in other episodes on the periphery. And they're always so freaky that I wanted to do an episode dedicated to this weird phenomenon. Because this phenomenon to me, I don't know what it is about this. This just really gives me the heebie-jeebies. I mean, this really gets under my skin, like in a creepy way.
It's a very curious oddity. It's very out of place, I think, is what grabs the attention so quickly. Because, it's strange. Very, very strange.
Exactly. And I think just naturally as humans, like many things, I think stairs almost symbolic in a way. They can mean many things. Our minds kind of speak in metaphor, and there's something about it when you see it out of place like that that just sends a chill down your spine. That's why I wanted to dive into this, because boy, oh boy, buckle up, folks. Get your camping gear, because we're setting off into the woods right now.
Hope you brought s'mores.
Hope you brought them. I hope you did. I hope you did. I brought the wieners. I brought the wieners and the buns. Now, folks, if there is one place where reality likes to bend and twist and occasionally take a smoke break, well, gosh dang, it's out there in the woods. There's just something about the deep forest where the rules of polite society don't apply. over the years, we've come across all kinds of hair-raising stories that take place out there in the green, tangled stretches of no man's land. Disappearances, shadowy figures watching from the trees, cryptid encounters, etc. But today, we're not talking about creatures. We're talking about carpentry. That's right. Man, just saying the word. That's right, folks, because hidden out in the middle of nowhere, in national forests and dense woodlands, you may just stumble across something a little off, a little too clean, a little too deliberate. I'm talking about the mystery of phantom staircases. And just as the name implies, these are lonely, eerie staircases that rise up out of the ground and lead to nowhere, just sitting there in the woods. Of all the tales out there about phantom staircases, the ones that really twist the knife come from deep inside America's national parks. And we're not talking just off the beaten path. No, I mean literally miles into the thick of it, in the bush, where no one should be building anything, let alone something like this, like just a random set of stairs. Imagine you're out hiking. No sign of civilization in sight, not even a rusted signpost or a broken trail marker. And suddenly, there it is. A set of stairs. Just regular old stairs. Rising out of the brush like the spine of some forgotten beast of a house. Literally like a house was there that's now gone, and it's just a staircase. No walls, no floors, no doorways, just a skeletal slice of architecture standing all alone. And some of these, what's even weirder is some of these are in pristine condition, like they were just built that morning. Others are weathered and falling apart, rotted, crumbling, like relics of an old civilization that the history books missed out on. And get this, some don't even stand upright. Witnesses say they found staircases upside down, sometimes suspended in midair or even jutting out of lakes and swamps. Some of them are stone, some are iron or polished wood or rusted steel. There's no pattern, no origin, no explanation. But one thing is consistent with all of them. Wherever these stairs appear, weirdness follows shortly behind. Now, if finding a staircase in the woods wasn't weird enough, what's really freaky are the details. Some folks who stumble across these things have noted a strange and unsettling pattern. A lot of these stairs have white carpet.
Weird that that's like a repeated thing, that's a thing that they have in common. That's so strange.
That is strange. And what's weird, you're out in the dirty forest, white carpet, and yet often they're found in pristine condition, like they're untouched. Not even a leaf or a smudge of dirt, not a single muddy boot print like you'd expect in the middle of the darn forest. And it doesn't stop there. The ground around these things are usually found dead and lifeless. It's like nature itself wants nothing to do with these things. No grass, no weeds, not even moss growing on the stones. It's like the forest just sort of steps back, like the forest itself is almost afraid of these things. Now, folks will say the second you get close to one of these mysterious staircases, the atmosphere changes. There's this thick, suffocating dread that just kind of hits you like a punch to the gut. The air gets still. The birds go quiet. It's like you've stepped inside a snow globe filled with an unnerving quiet. Some hikers say that they had to turn and run, not because of what they saw, but because of what they felt when around these staircases, a pure primal terror. And here's the kicker. When they come back later, oftentimes the stairs are gone. Or even creepier, sometimes they've moved. Same style, same materials, but now they're showing up somewhere else entirely. It's like these things get up, they hike up their skirt and move.
Yeah, that's so strange. So, a commonality, it sounds like a lot of people have just an unbelievable feeling of fear and terror.
Right.
You know, you wouldn't just think it is unusual, but why would it actually make you afraid? You know, I just can't imagine walking through the woods and seeing a staircase and actually being terrified unless there was some sort of aura about this. I mean, that alone suggests that there's something paranormal going on. And then the moving part is incredibly perplexing because how would people even be able to do that? You got to imagine a person probably stumbles upon this and doesn't have the ability to move it. So,
yeah.
What could be the explanation for that?
And if it was a practical joke, like, it's one that you can't guarantee will even pay off. How do you know that person will ever come back to that same spot again?
Yeah, and it's a lot of work for a practical joke that you never get to see the outcome of.
Exactly, right. Exactly. It's almost like the way people feel like when they enter a haunted house or something. It's like this feeling of they've got to get out of there.
Yeah, it's like an aura.
Yeah. Now, this whole thing might sound like simple campfire gossip at first, more like a creepy story you'd pass around with a flashlight under your chinny chin chin. But what really cemented these stories into modern lore was a post, of all places, on Reddit. This wasn't just from some thrill seeker with a spooky imagination either. This user claimed to be a seasoned search and rescue officer working for the U.S. Forest Service. And what he said stuck with the readers for a long time to come. He claimed that yes, these stairs are real, that during search and rescue operations in national parks, it's not uncommon for teams to come across these bizarre structures. And here's the part that really raises the hair on your arms. According to the search and rescue worker, the teams are explicitly told by the higher-ups not to go near them. No explanation, no reason why, just a firm, unnerving directive that you stay away from the stairs. No exceptions. I mean, when the folks trained to run toward danger say no thanks, you know something's wrong. Here is what the poster, Search and Rescue Woods, had to say of their encounter with these mysterious staircases. Now, I don't know if this story is true in every SAR unit, but in mine, it's sort of an unspoken, regular thing we run into. You can try asking about it with other SAR officers, but even if they know what you're talking about, they probably won't say anything about it. We've been told not to talk about it by our superiors, and at this point, we've all gotten so used to it that it doesn't even seem weird anymore. On just about every case where we're really far into the wilderness, I'm talking 30 or 40 miles, at some point, we'll find a staircase in the middle of the woods. It's almost like if you took the stairs in your house, cut them out, and put them there in the forest. I asked about it the first time I saw some, and the other officer just told me not to worry about it, that it was normal. Everyone I asked said the same thing. I wanted to go check them out, but I was told very emphatically that I should never go near any of them. I just sort of ignore them now when I run into them because it happens so frequently. Think about, this will be something that pops up again. They're encountered a lot while on search and rescue missions.
Yeah.
When someone goes missing. Very interesting. So, yes, it's easy to chalk this up to just another eerie internet tale. A little bit of digital folklore cooked up by someone with too much time on their hands. But the minute that story hit the web, people started coming out of the woodwork. Folks from all over started chiming in, saying, "Wait, I've seen that too." And here's the kicker, folks. They hadn't told anyone. They'd been sitting on these experiences for years, sometimes decades, because they thought they were the only ones. What started as an anonymous poster's claim about staircases showing up in places where people had gone missing quickly drew a chorus of voices sharing near identical stories. First from across the US, then Europe, Asia, South America, the stairs were everywhere. And some of those stories are strange in ways that you just don't forget. They stick with you.
And that is really interesting that people from all over were recounting these stories from different continents. And it could be the case. I mean, Reddit does kind of have a culture of everybody jumping on a bandwagon of telling a fun story, you know, that is just a story. But it does seem even more credible to me that you're getting these stories from all across the globe.
Right. And who's to say that a lot of these folks saw the staircase and maybe didn't get that feeling of weirdness. They just thought, oh, someone dumped some stairs, and they never talked about it because they kind of forgot about it. It was just something, just what they thought was some junk in the woods. But then when you start to hear other people describe it, you're like, wait a second, I saw that too. Because at the time, maybe it wasn't even because you're like, oh, I won't tell anyone because they'll think I'm crazy. Maybe it was a thing you just didn't think twice about and you just kind of forgot about.
True. But that means that if a lot of these accounts are true, which it sounds like at least a large portion of them are, what is the reason for this to be such a common phenomenon?
Exactly. So let's share another tale here from one of the posters that encountered these staircases and described them as being constructed in a way that just didn't line up with logic. They said, "An hour east of Ironwood, there's a clearing in the forest that has stairs. I was hiking and exploring with my cousins.
Cousins?
And we stumbled on a podcast. And we stumbled on a clearing about half a football field long. And it had a few staircases, but not against trees, just standing in the open. They looked like stairs from a normal suburban home. Kind of old, though. The older cousin decided to investigate, and he walked to the stairs to see how they were being held up. He couldn't find anything, which weirded him out. He made us all leave. Grass didn't grow near the stairs either." All right, another one. Now, this was almost like a field of wind turbines, but like these stairs just looming in a field, this opening in the woods. And of course, the grass was like, get away from me. Even the grass didn't want these things. Here's another poster that claimed the staircases they encountered almost seemed to be infused with something evil. Here's what they had to say. "A few months back, we went hiking. Nothing big, just a walk and a picnic in some woods. With us were my niece and nephew, who are both quite young, so I joined them in hide and seek while the proper grown-ups had coffee and whatnot. Me and my nephew were first to hide, but we split up, and I ran alone quite a ways into a thicket of woods. And I found a staircase. Nothing remarkable. It was riddled with moss and made from what looked like really old concrete with large pebbles of rocks in it. It didn't really seem out of place at the time, but thinking back, anyway, I decided it was fit for a hiding place. But after only a few seconds of squatting behind it, I got up and stepped back. I couldn't shake the feeling that I really shouldn't be anywhere near it. I suddenly had this feeling of being severely unwelcome, and that I should get as far away from it as possible. So I went to my family and didn't look back at it. thinking about it now, it still gives me some sort of, I don't know, twisted, wrong feeling.
They kind of remind me of the fear that people have when they go into abandoned buildings.
Yes.
There's something about, liminal spaces and empty malls, empty department stores. They are a place that is typically full of life. They're in use. And a staircase is a transitional object, essentially. And these are transitioning to nowhere, to nothing.
Exactly.
It's strange, and it wouldn't on its surface seem like it would cause such a feeling, but maybe it's a psychological effect, or maybe there is something paranormal going on.
Absolutely. Now, as you might expect, most folks who stumble on these staircases, as we said, they feel that sense of dread in their gut and make the wise decision to get the hell away. But of course, there's always someone who's just kind of stupid. Someone who looks at a set of cursed stairs rising out of the underbrush and thinks, what's the worst that could happen? Well, buddy, the worst that could happen is literally the plot of this fucking episode. Because, spoiler alert, there's a lot of folks out there willing to roll the dice on these stairs. One account tells of a man who climbed to the tippity top of one of these staircases. Nothing fancy, just 5 or 6 steps. And the moment he reached the top, he heard an awful sound. An inhuman, bone-chilling scream. And it was so loud, it turned his blood to ice. Naturally, he bolted and got the hell out of there. But as he tore through the brush trying to escape, he felt a hand grab his shoulder, hard, like it had real strength. He turns around and, of course, no one's there. Now, another even darker story concerns a woman who was climbing one of these staircases. She was just a curious little kitty. She reached the top, paused, and suddenly she collapsed. Just like that. She would die later of an aneurysm. No warning, no known medical condition, just a healthy woman gone. And yes, it obviously could have been a coincidence, but when you start stacking stories like this on top of one another, coincidence or not, maybe stay off the stairs, bruh.
Yeah, maybe a lot of these people have a fear of cardio.
I mean, dang. Lady couldn't even make it up 5 stairs. But rest in peace, of course. Then, there's the freaky case of a witness known only by the handle of Case 9. According to his account, when he encountered one of these staircases, that old song and dance called Curiosity got the better of him. And just like so many before him, he made the choice to climb to the tippity top. 1 foot after the other, but when he reached the top, he didn't hear a noise or a blood-curdling scream. He didn't feel a hand grab him, but he did feel a presence. Something was waiting for him up there. Something unseen and not of this world. It felt malevolent, like stepping into a room that hates you. He couldn't see it, he couldn't touch it, but every part of him, every nerve, every instinct could feel it. He was not alone. He could feel that something was standing inches away, watching him with blinding hatred. And whatever it was, it wanted him gone. Here is what the witness said. I found the staircase while walking through foliage so thick I didn't see it until it was almost underfoot. The stairs were made of loose cobble and moist earth like they were a work of masonry once, long ago. I climbed the stairs thoughtlessly, half expecting there to be a landing to greet me at the top. There wasn't, though. Just another crumbly step and an unimpressive view. Something caught my eye as I craned my head. The bushes were packed tight, except where the stumps of dead trees formed sunken wells around them. And from one of these craters, someone was looking at me. I remember clearly their dark, lean face. Their round eyes were black. No sooner had I seen this face than it disappeared again, and only then did I have the foresight to take off down the steps and back through the bushes and brambles. Well, that's the first time I've heard a story about these staircases that had a literal sighting attached to it, like some sort of, almost like it almost gives me like a fae folk, almost like an elven, kind of has that like feeling to it.
The lean face and the black eyes.
Yeah, it's something of the earth rather than like an extraterrestrial, something like ancient or something.
Yeah, that would make sense, because if these staircases are haunted, that just seems so strange and unusual. I can't imagine why that would be. How would a staircase become haunted? Unless maybe it was part of a house that was haunted, and that's the only remnant left that the spirit has now attached itself to.
Exactly.
But the fae folk idea, that's an interesting one. Maybe it is something that these things have become possessed or haunted by some sort of earthbound spirit long after they became part of the woods.
Right, something elemental almost. And if eerie silence and inhuman screams weren't enough to keep you off those steps, well, let's talk about something even stranger and a favorite here on Creep Street: missing time. Because according to some folks, when you get too close to these steps, or God forbid you actually climb them, you may be risking the shattering of your very reality. One story came from another search and rescue volunteer who claims his team came across a staircase with pristine white carpet in the middle of the gosh dang dirty forest, just sitting there like it had been beamed in from some suburban showroom. Well, of course, curiosity, that old critter, got the better of him and another teammate of his, and they decided to climb it, just to see. But the moment they hit the top, everything changed. Sound died. The woods went quiet. And this horrible, creeping panic settled over them. They didn't see anything. They didn't hear anything. But they knew something awful was about to happen. They bolted off the stairs and ran back to their team, but there was a problem. They thought they had been gone just a few minutes. Turns out it had been hours, and when they told their leader what had happened, he didn't argue. Didn't even act surprised. He just looked at them and said, "Don't ever go up those stairs again." But that's not even the strangest one. Another witness claimed to be a ranger in the Philippines. So here we go, we're getting out of the United States here. Shout out to our Filipino listeners. We've got a big listener base over there. We love you guys. Well, this witness was hiking through the thick jungle when he stumbled across one of these staircases. He figured, hey, why not climb it for a better view of the terrain? No big deal, right? Well, he goes up, he looks around, he comes down and keeps moving. All seemed well. Only when he reaches his destination did he realize 5 years had passed. He'd been declared missing. His family thought he was dead. And here's the icing on the cake. He has no memory of where he was during this time. In just one moment on these stairs, and the next moment, half a decade vanished like that. So the question is, where do the stairs actually go? Because, friends, it's looking more and more like they're leading to some sort of a quantum rift in space-time. Like he literally just went to the top, got the view, and left. Think about almost like Interstellar when they go down to that planet, and for the guy waiting for them up in the craft, it's like 20-some years when they felt like they were only gone for like 45 minutes or something like that.
Exactly. The time was relative on that planet. Yeah, it could be this is some sort of time rift.
Yeah, right. Like, because think about it, it doesn't mention like they suddenly had long hair and a big beard that they hadn't cut in 5 years, or they would have starved to death if they had actually. So it's clearly like some kind of a rift or something, because I'm assuming they're wearing the same clothes they had on. They look the same. They probably didn't age 5 years, I would assume.
Right. 5 years.
Wow. Ooh, just had to take a quick pause there, Creep Street, just to give your poor palpitating heart a rest. If you're enjoying this episode, go ahead and follow us on Facebook, Instagram at Creep Street Podcast, Twitter at Creep Street Pod, TikTok at Creep Street Podcast. That's right. And if once a week is not enough for you, just head on over to patreon.com for all sorts of goodies. We got 3 different tiers there, something for every tier. So get your fixins. We even got a free tier where you can listen to the weekly sketches before they go live on the episode. Now, without further ado, back to today's story. Now, we'll be the first to admit that yes, some folks think there's a simple explanation here. That these are just the remnants of old cabins or lookout posts or maybe even half-finished buildings left to rot before the roof ever went up. And sure, maybe a few of them are, certainly, almost certainly it is. It's like we always say here on Creep Street. Just because one thing is explainable doesn't mean all of it is, you know? Just because a few guys admit to making a crop circle doesn't mean all of those crop circles are fake. So yes, of course, I'm sure a lot of times people come across these things. Yes, they are harmless, just like things left from like a building that was there or something.
And maybe there's a variety of things going on with these staircases too. You know, maybe some of them are haunted. Maybe some of them involve elementals like we talked about before, and maybe some of them are time rifts. Now, why all staircases? That's a whole other question. And I mean,
yeah,
it could be that there's some sort of collective consciousness power going on too, because a staircase is a man-made object
right
at the end of the day.
And I think that's a good point, because maybe when you have something that is, to the human mind, so incomprehensible, we put there something we understand. Now, the effect is still something that we can't comprehend, but it's almost like whether it's us or whatever it is, the source of this power, put something there that we do understand so that we can, it's kind of like putting the dog's pill in peanut butter.
Yeah.
We're given something we understand symbolically, whether it's like a set of stairs, and it's a way of like...
It's a channel.
Yes.
It's almost like a channel. It's like collectively humanity, you'd have to go to a pretty primitive part of the world for people to not recognize a staircase. It's a symbol in the collective human consciousness. So maybe other forces that are out there in our universe are, using the staircases as like a channel. But the other strange thing is the things that these staircases have in common, like the white carpet. I mean, that doesn't even sound like common to a staircase in a house,
right?
Necessarily.
Yes, exactly. It's almost heavenly like. It makes you think of like a heavenly set of stairs or something like that. But despite the fact that, yes, there's probably cases where people stumble across absolutely normal staircases, then explain why every single one shows up miles from any known settlement. Does it happen just to freak people out? And why does it happen to have white carpet that never gets dirty? No. Something doesn't add up. And that's, of course, when the theories start rolling in. Some say these staircases are ritual sites, altars for things best left unnamed. Others say they're portals. openings in the fabric of reality, doorways between our world and somewhere else. And there's those who think that it's the work of aliens or ancient civilizations, or that it's all just one big government experiment playing out in real time. And we're just the lab rats running up those stairs. As we know, there's some that theorize that, like, so many people go missing in the national parks that we've talked about it before. Like, does the government maybe have like a truce with the extraterrestrials? Like, okay, you can abduct, but only in these designated areas. Places where we can say, oh, they must have, got lost or fallen into a cave or something.
And maybe whatever is doing the abducting is using things that are familiar to people to lure them in.
Yes, you would almost think it has to, just like you put cheese or peanut butter on a mousetrap.
And a staircase, in the context of being out in the middle of nowhere, is likely to grab people's attention.
Right. It's at the very least, even if you don't step on it, you'll go, well, hey, look at that. Like, it'll get your attention.
You'll probably investigate it.
Yeah.
At the very least.
Absolutely. Now, friends, this brings us to the story that really put it in my head when I was like, dang, we got to make this a full episode. Now, I shared this story on a Patreon bonus episode back in March, and this one just stuck with me. And it's always been in the back of my head since, and I'm really excited to share it because once again, we're talking about search and rescue teams. And this next tale comes out of Northern California. Thick, wild country where the trees harbor old secrets and the mountains almost seem to breathe, as we know, Mount Shasta, baby. Now, as the poster says, for the better part of 11 years, a man he was friends with had worked in the search and rescue department. Now, for the sake of the tale, they call him Jack to protect his identity, so we'll just go with Jack here. But Jack got his start back in college when he was still green, eager and idealistic, maybe even a little bit reckless, like most of us were at that age. But Jack, he had a good head on his shoulders, and he'd seen his fair share of strange things in the woods. But nothing like this tale we're about to hear. It was during his early days on the job that his trainer pulled him aside with a warning. One not found in any manuals or survivalist literature. In a hushed, almost kind of embarrassed tone, the trainer told him, if you ever see a staircase in the woods, just leave it be. Don't go near it, don't touch it, and for God's sake, don't climb it. Now, Jack did as he was told. For a whole year, he followed that sage advice like gospel. And sure enough, the stories seemed to stay quiet. But then came that call. It was a routine operation, or so it seemed. A missing hiker lost in some rugged terrain, the kind of thing he'd been on dozens of times before. But as the team moved through the brush, Jack spotted something out of place. A staircase, just standing there. In the middle of nowhere in this forest. No structure around it, no ruins, no path leading to it. Just a set of stairs, clean and dry as though they'd been placed there yesterday. And of course, curiosity, like a splinter in his mind, started to itch. And while the rest of the team pushed on, Jack broke formation. He stepped away from the line and approached the stairs, his breath catching in his throat as he neared them. They looked normal. In fact, almost too normal. Kind of like has been described in the other stories we've told, like a slice of suburbia, carved out and dropped into the wild. Interesting that people keep saying suburbia. It's like something kind of like Black-Eyed Kids, like something pretending to be a kid. It's like something trying too hard to look normal.
You would expect it to be like a dilapidated staircase, of like some old dilapidated house or something, that just crumbled away. But Yeah, it makes it even more out of place that it seems like it comes from a modern suburban type environment.
Right. And it brings me back to the analogy we've used a few times about the cheese on the mousetrap. Like, if a mouse could step back and reason like a person, they'd probably think, isn't it kind of weird that, like, what is essentially a gold mine for me, something I would crave, is just right here? Like, I'm not eating off a dead animal in the woods or eating, like, stuff in a field. Like, no, here's, like, the most delicious fucking thing right in front of me.
Yeah. Not just some scrap. It's like they put a fresh piece of mozzarella over there.
Yeah, some piece of the mozzarella. It's kind of like that. When you step back and you think, you go, why is this slice of familiarity or this slice of what we would associate maybe comfort or something with just out here in the open? Just like a rat or a mouse would, if they could, think, why the heck is my favorite treat just sitting here all of a sudden?
It's like whoever put it there was trying too hard to put something familiar out there.
Yes. He didn't touch him. He didn't touch the stairs, not yet, at least. But he stared at him. He observed them closely, and something about the air around them, it just felt off. Not cold exactly, but just wrong. As if the world around him was holding its breath. Jack would later say he felt like he was being watched, not even by an animal or even by another person, but as if he was being watched by the stairs themselves. And though it looked like an ordinary staircase, to Jack it almost felt alive. Whatever happened next, he never fully said. Just that he turned back quickly, silently, and he never broke formation again. Now, Jack had seen some things out there, more than he cared to admit. But what he saw that day, 10 miles deep in the forest, stuck with him like a splinter under his skin. The team had been searching for a missing teenage girl. One of those cases that kind of weighs heavy on you from the start, because you understand that not finding this person almost certainly means their death. So you have a sense of heaviness. Even though the search is just beginning, you have a heavy feeling of duty, of risk, of all of that. The dogs had picked up some sort of scent and faint trail that would lead them through the trees, and the group was moving steady, eyes sharp. But Jack, for one reason or another, had fallen behind. And that's when he saw it. Off to his left, barely visible between the trunks of the massive California trees, there stood a staircase. Not just any old staircase, baby. This thing looked brand new. We're talking pristine white carpeting, clean enough to eat off of, not a single speck of dirt or wear on the thing. Jack said it looked like it had been lifted out of a freshly built home and just plopped down there, right there in the middle of nowhere. So he approached it, slowly, expecting something, anything, to happen. But the air stayed still. No sound, no chill down his spine, no pulse-pounding sense of foreboding, just silence. He got right up next to the stairs. Still nothing. He reached out, but he stopped short of touching them. Something about the whole scene felt off, but not in the way you'd expect. It wasn't screaming danger to him. It wasn't hitting him with a sense of warning. If anything, it just felt blank. Like the world around it had just been shut off. And it was just him and the stairs. And the strangest part, not a single leaf, not a twig, not a smudge of dirt was on this staircase. But there were also no bird calls, no buzzing of insects, no tracks in the soil, nothing. Jack said it didn't feel like animals were avoiding it, as animals tend to do in paranormal situations. As we know in past stories, animals seem to have a a sixth sense for those sorts of things. No, but not in this case. It felt like nothing had ever been there at all. Almost like the stairs weren't in the forest, but the forest had somehow grown around them and keeping its distance while it did. Or just maybe the stairs were waiting. Alas, Jack, gosh dang it, Jack touched those stairs. He just placed his hand on the banister, real careful and gentle, and the only thing he felt was that sort of tacky, sticky softness you get from brand new carpet. That strange feeling like it's never been touched, never been worn. Like the thing had never known a single footstep until his. With his radio on and the volume all the way up, he took a deep breath, and then he started climbing. Jack said it was one of the scariest things he'd ever done. Not because of what happened, but because of what might happen. All the tales, all the warnings he had been given, yet the stairs seemed so mundane. Other than they were out of place, they just seemed so normal. The stairs had been so deeply stigmatized in his training that he felt like he was violating something sacred, like some sort of unspoken law that he was breaking. He joked afterward that he wasn't sure if he'd been sucked into another dimension or if a flying saucer was gonna beam him up mid-step, but nothing happened. He reached the top, still standing in the woods, sun filtering through the canopy above, and he looked around. All was as it had been. But the longer Jack stood there on that final top step, the more things felt wrong. Jack said it was like standing in the middle of a government facility that you weren't supposed to be in, like you were breaking into a CIA records room or creeping down the wrong hallway in a military bunker. That feeling in your gut when you know you're doing something, you're being naughty, you're doing something you shouldn't be doing. And someone or something knows that you're there. He tried to shake that feeling, tried to play it cool, but then the quiet came. Sudden and absolute. Not just the bird song or the breeze through the trees, but every audible thing vanished. He couldn't hear the wind. He couldn't hear the leaves. Jack couldn't even hear his own breathing. It was like the world had put him on mute. This was more than just silence. It was more like an oppressive ringing. A pressure in his ears, like the air had thickened and time had slowed. Jack said he felt like he was inside a bubble, or a vacuum, or some unseen watchful eye. That is when Jack came back down. And real fast, baby, no hesitation, no turning around for one last look. He rejoined the search team like nothing had happened, fell back in line, didn't say a word, and to this day, he never climbed another staircase in the woods. But Jack said the weirdest part, the part that still haunts him, came after, later that evening. The search had ended. The sun had dipped low behind the trees, casting everything in that golden, hazy glow that makes the world feel still, foretelling of the night to come. As the team made their way back to the Welcome Center, Jack was quiet, thinking he'd gotten away with something naughty. Thought maybe the weirdness of the day was behind him. Oh, but no, his trainer was waiting for him. And this guy was pissed. Pissed in a way that was deep, like a controlled, caged rage within. He cornered Jack before he could even reach his car. No small talk, no smile, just a look on his face Jack would never forget. Not one of worry, not of confusion, but of anger. Cold, tightly wound anger. And then the trainer said something that froze Jack in his place. He said, "You went up them, didn't you?" Jack told me it wasn't even phrased like a question, just a flat, dead certainty. He stammered and asked how the guy knew. Really, how would this guy know? The trainer, though, didn't blink. He didn't hesitate. He said, "Because we didn't find her. The dogs lost the scent." Jack blinked, too confused, like logic was just shattered. Jack asked his trainer what him climbing some random stairs in the woods had to do with anything. I mean, what did a weird set of stairs have to do with this missing person? But the trainer just looked at him, real slow, real hollow, and asked, "How long were you on the stairs?" Jack said, I don't know, maybe a minute." That's when the trainer leaned in, his eyes like stone, like all the light had drained out of them, and he said, "If you ever go up another set again, you're done. Fired on the spot." And just like that, he walked away. Since that encounter, Jack, of course, has tried to ask questions, tried to bring it up casually, even directly. He tried every approach he could think of, but that trainer never said another word about it. And Jack, you better believe he never went near another staircase in the woods. Not once. And folks, that's the story that kind of brought it all together for me. If you've noticed, almost every story here involves search and rescue. It's almost like, now who knows, some of these people might be found, especially if you don't get on the stairs. I get almost like a sacrifice. It's almost like someone being given to the woods, being given to something, whether it's the woods, whether it's the UFOs, crypto, who knows. There is a ritual-like aspect to them. Why when someone goes missing? And why if another person touches them, does that cost the life of the person who's gone missing? I think back like the Bible, there's like tales of like Lot's wife. They were told, when you leave Sodom and Gomorrah, don't look back. And of course, Lot's wife looks back and turns into a pillar of salt. Things like that. It's almost like, well, why have that? Why put it there at all? Like, why make that temptation there if it's going to, you know what I mean? It's like a...
Yeah, there's definitely some missing piece to the puzzle here, because clearly a number of people know enough about these things that they take it very seriously and don't want anybody going near it. They won't say why, but they must know something that they're not telling. And it kind of suggests there's a bigger conspiracy going on. You mentioned the government and allowing certain things to go on in national parks. I mean, they probably know something that they are not telling the general public. Whether they're in control of it or not is a different question, but they clearly know something.
Right. And think about this last story. You know, this search and rescue team, who knows how many people are a part of it. How did the guy know it was Jack?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he knew Jack. Maybe he realized Jack had broken off from the group, so he just deduced that must have been Jack. But the trainer clearly has experience with these things. Must have maybe stepped on one, climbed a set of stairs himself and realized the sacrifice, the price that is paid for that curiosity. It's almost like the whole cliche thing of like, you don't want to know the truth. You
can't handle the truth.
Exactly.
As another Jack would have said.
I get my teeth cleaned 30 yards away from staircases that want to kill me. But like the tree of knowledge in the Garden of Eden, like
the forbidden fruit.
Yeah, it's like, you guys, you can do anything you want, just stay away from that tree. Well, why put the tree there in the first place?
Yeah, exactly. Nobody will actually say why you can't touch these staircases. It's just a staircase, for crying out loud.
Right. You're telling me not to, but you're not telling me why. when you're young and you're being taught in school, don't do drugs, well, typically they show you stuff that shows what can happen if you do drugs. That sort of thing. Like, they don't just go, don't do drugs. Well, why? What'll happen? Oh, don't want to do it. What do they, like,
especially in the modern era, yeah. I think we've gotten to a point in society, too, where there's no shame in asking why. In fact, I mean, there shouldn't be. We should encourage people to ask why. But, I mean, even just like on a very mainstream cultural level, I think it's very reasonable. Not the kind of thing you hear about a lot anymore, like a superior telling you not to do something with no explanation.
Right. And it doesn't mean you're asking because you're like, well, I'm going to do it if I want. No, it's just like, okay, sure, I won't. But what happens? Like, what you know what I mean? Like, what happens if has someone done it before? This whole notion of saying no, but not telling why, there's almost like that whole...
There's a secret. There's some kind of secret.
Exactly. Yeah.
Another thing that it makes me kind of think of is simulation theory. And it's like a glitch in the Matrix. It almost reminds me of assets in a video game appearing in a weird place.
Yeah.
A staircase out in the middle of nowhere.
Right. Like, it's been a while since I've watched the original Matrix, but like when Neo sees that black cat and then he sees it again and he goes, deja vu, and they're like, oh, that usually means something's afoot. Like, it's like a glitch in a way. You're right. It's like an asset in a video game rezzed in an area where it wasn't supposed to be. Yeah, that's a great point. This whole idea of simulation theory, which we'll have to do an episode on. I mean, it's such a vast concept, but
it's a whole rabbit hole.
Yeah, we'll definitely do a series on it. But yeah, it's like, well, I guess if there is a glitch, quote unquote, in the simulation, yeah, and maybe that's why you get a negative feeling. It's almost like when a game like freezes.
And maybe that explains a lot of the strange feelings and activity involved in it. Glitches usually cause other glitches, I would think. So this staircase pops into the wrong place, and maybe it's also got some weird code going on to where you get too close and your time meter is changed.
Absolutely. Whew. I'll tell you what, Gage. I got a list of names I wouldn't mind hitting a Stairmaster with.
Oh yeah? Who's that?
The names of our top-tier Patreon subscribers. Of course, the Dream James Watkins, the Finnish Face via Lungfist, the Madman Marcus Hall, the Tenacious Teresa Hackworth, the Heartbreak Kid Chris Hackworth, the Oh-So-Suave Sean Richardson, the Notorious Nicholas Barker, the Terrifying Taylor Lashmet, the Count of Cool Cameron Corliss, the Archduke of Attitude Adam Archer, the Sinister Sam Kiker, the Nightmare of New Zealand Noeline Vivilli, the Loathsome Johnny Love, the Carnivorous Kevin Bogey, the Killer Stud Carl Staub, the Firestarter Heather Carter, the Conqueror Christopher Damian Damaris, the Awfully Awesome Annie, the Murderous Maggie Leach, the Serve Sexy Sam Hackworth, the Evil Elizabeth Riley, Lauren Hellfire Hernandez Lopez, the Maniacal Laura Maynard, the Vicious Karen Van Buren, the Arch Nemesis Aaron Bird, the Sadistic Sergio Castillo, the Rapscallion Ryan Crum, the Beast Benjamin Huang, the Devilish Chris Doucette, the Psycho Sam, the Electric Emily Zhang, the Ghoulish Gert Hankum, the Renegade Corey Ramos, the Crazed Carlos, the Antagonist Andrew Park, the Monstrous Michaela Schur, the Witchy Wonder J.P. Weimer, the Freaky Ben Forsyth, the Barbaric Andrew Barry, the Mysterious Marcella, the Hellacious Cale Hoffman, and Pugblorb, the Poltergeist. Oh, that's right. Are you feeling the burn?
Ooh, feeling the burn.
I got a sweat going. If you want to sweat it out just like the other folks I listed, head on over to patreon.com/creepstreetpodcast for all sorts of goodies. Folks, it has been wonderful joining you around the stairs. I mean, God, I'm so happy we dived into this. And you know what? This could be one of those things where, in a few months, we come back and we do Stairs in the Woods Part 2, because there's collections of all these stories. I was just seeing there was a set of mysterious stairs recently found in Cambodia in the woods. So, there's all sorts of these tales we'll obviously return to, but I'm glad we finally covered it because it's so eerie and yet so, ancient to our sensibilities. Like I said, the whole notion of being told, don't do it, but not being told why.
Very true. It's a very classic kind of cautionary tale.
Like a cautionary tale or a parable, like those, I can't remember what the name of those books were, but stories like, what's his name, Flew Too Close to the Sun. It's like a collection of almost like those early childhood tales that kind of teach you right and wrong, that sort of thing. And there's something about it that's just so inherent to who we are, I think. And I'm glad we finally covered it. Citizens of the Milky Way, my name is Dylan Hackworth.
And I'm Gage Hurley.
Good night and goodbye.